there's a conversation happening. Right now, on various forms of social media, somebody is talking either about your organization specifically or issues that are relevant to your organization. Or they might be talking about things that are somewhat related. But there's a conversation that is happening, like it or not. Staying off the internet, staying out of social media doesn't stop the conversation. It's going on. So it's much better to be involved in the conversation than to ignore it at your own risk. Because people are going to be talking about you, talking about your issues, like it or not. And one of the things that I was trying to point out with that exercise too is the importance of being online who you are in real life. It's important to build relationships. You have to be a person. You got to be sharing some of who you are. Even as an organization, how you interact with people, perhaps at your facilities or programs, you're going to have a person behind that. You're not going to, like I've done a Facebook page for a small business, and because the owner put her own personality into that Facebook page, she had a lot more interaction, a lot more sense of community than when even I was at the YMCA, because I was using it with too much of a corporate voice. So you have to be a person, you got to be who you are, and even as an organization, you got to try to relate to people, break out of that pushing information in a very authoritative kind of voice, and talk in a more conversational kind of tone. You want to be genuine. You want to, but it's also, I'm a believer that different forms of social media reflect different social circles in your life. Some people kind of see social media all as being one, and there's even tools out there that will allow you to post the same thing to a whole bunch of different forms of social media. I discourage you from doing that because I prefer to keep Facebook to basically people that really are my friends, people who are my family. Sure, you can make lists and you can kind of categorize them and stuff, but that becomes, a little more work involved. Whereas for my professional network, I use LinkedIn. For Twitter is a great way for me to explore new relationships with people who I've never met before. So it's all partly depends upon your comfort zone, but I like to think that you can use social media to reflect your different social circles. But remember, do you want your mother to see what you have said? Or your executive director, or your board of directors, or your donors, or your participants? Basically, you just have to, you don't want to overly censor yourself, but you do have to be aware that what you say could, because things on social media are potentially easily magnified, that could happen. But at the same time, I don't want you to discourage from the way that you're networking in this room or the way you might network at another event. That's the same kind of behavior that you want to be engaging in on social media, okay? So you don't want to be really constricted, but you just have to but it's the same kind of thing. If you walked into this room, you're probably not going to be spilling a secret about a partnership that you're about to engage in, or discuss specific details of a client case. Well, you're not going to do that in a social media context either. Social media is all about building relationships. And I don't really have to tell you a lot about that because I think I'm sitting in a room full of experts on building relationships. That's what, for the most part, especially in the nonprofit charitable sector, it's all about. It's all building relationships with our participants, with our donors. It's all about making those connections and but the real thing is, it's making connections like one-on-one. So you're not, you're much more likely, like you're not going to go and ask somebody for a six-figure gift without making that one-on-one connection. And just by sending them a newsletter that you send to 2,000 other people, you're not likely to make that connection strong enough where you feel that you're comfortable to make that ask, for instance. So it's the same thing with social media, is you're building relationships and you're building them as an individual with an individual. And then as you build up enough of those relationships, you start to build a sense of community. That community could exist on your Facebook page. It could exist on your blog. It could even exist, like there are people who have different interests in arts and culture, for instance, in this region. It's easy enough on Twitter to start figuring out who some of those people are and make some connections to them, or even if that's just something you're talking about, they'll start to find you. And you will then start to find this community. We have a guest speaker who's going to come, not because he's an expert in social media, but because he is someone that I got to know through Twitter as he was exploring taking his own journey of learning how to use social media. And I discovered after that he is on a contract with Community Justice Initiatives and now is helping them to get on social media. And so that relationship all took place initially through Twitter and then in person through some of the common events that we were going to. But there's all kinds of people I know now through social media that I never would have known otherwise. But there are no quick fixes. Social media is not, oh, get on social media and it'll solve all our problems. If anything, it might actually expose some of your problems because if you have customer service issues or policies that are difficult, those might show up because there's more attention on your organization. But there are very real benefits to being on social media, but they happen over the long term. And that's what I was talking about in terms of building relationships. If I just meet you today, we have initiated a relationship. If it's somebody like Emily, who I kind of connected with a little bit through social media recently, when she walked in, on a certain level, I felt like I already knew her. You know, if I keep seeing her, keep seeing you, either online or in person, the relationship deepens. But it's not like, you know, you start walking into a crowd like this and you start asking somebody to participate in a program or to go to an event or something. That's not how you build those relationships. Yes?